1:30 here on BBC Two. Dr. Jonathan Miller explores the complex power of the human brain for visual perception and illusions in states of mind. Now, we join Chris Searle in the film archives for Windmill.
Hello. Yes, it's Windmill. But what is a windmill? Well, it's a thing which waves its arms around, blown around by the wind, grinding lots and lots of corn. And that's not far off what our Windmill team has been doing for this week's programme, viewing lots and lots of golden moments from the BBC Film Library. The difference is that real windmills aren't fussy. Any old corn will do. We're fussy about our corn, and I reckon we've got just about the most varied possible selection for today's programme, which is all about animals. We have the first ever film shown on television of emperor penguins.
The male is here taking over, or about to take over, the egg.
One of our guests is the star of One by One, James Ellis.
You know what he's going to have me do? Crawling all over the floor, mopping up drops of gazelle juice with strips of paper.
I'll be sharing a chimpanzee's tea party with our other star guest. I wonder if you recognise his lovely laugh. All that and much more to come. We begin back in 1955. Wildlife programmes in those days usually meant getting animals into the studio rather than sending out expeditions to film them in their natural habitat. And one of the favourite and most bitten presenters was the curator of London Zoo, George Cansdale. When he brought a lion cub into the studio, he hardly said anything about it. He didn't get a chance because the cub hated the lights. Even a bribe in the form of a nice pacifying bottle of milk didn't help. You're supposed to suck these things, not eat them.
Well, I've got a handful here, and hello, how are you? And here's BB, a really obstreperous little lion cub who's come all the way up from Ilfracombe in North Devon to see us. She's a little bit wondering what's going on around here, but she really is an awfully good little thing. What is the matter? I think we'll ask Mr. Trevisick to bring along her bottle. Mr. Trevisick, may I have her bottle? Maybe she decides that... Now, look, what about this? Now, look, you're disgracing yourself. You're... Well, that's an odd way to drink a bottle, BB, but if that's the way you like it... Oh, dear, what a... You know, she doesn't really know what a bottle's for. She wants to get what's inside without sort of sucking in the ordinary way. Well, look, Mr. Rizzi, hold that just a moment, will you, while I try and get her to behave. Now, the lion, of course, is one of the big cats, and she's got... Oh, now you're just... Oh, she... I think we'll have to let her go fairly... Now, look, I'll give you one more chance to behave. One more chance. Well, while she's having that, I'll tell you a little bit more about her. Now, I believe that she's, what, 25th?
She is the 25th cub.
25th cub to one lioness, which I believe is a record. And I believe she's going to have some more cubs fairly soon, is she?
Yes, we've got another litter expected.
Well, that's grand. Now, tell me, why is this one handleable? Because many cubs... Oh, that was all over our face. You brought her up at home?
That's right. She runs about in the house and in the grounds.
Well,
children play with her in the open, you know.
Well, I think we better say, BB, you go off and finish your bottle elsewhere because I'm getting it all over me.
We still know nothing about lions, except that they eat bottles. Well, things have changed an awful lot in just a few years. Now, through the power of TV, we can actually see things in the natural world we'd never see any other way. Imagine the patience and skill it must take to produce a perfectly sharp, beautifully David Attenborough's Life on Earth.
And now here is Armand in his immaculate shirt with half a jar of Brill cream on his hair to tell you about the search for Gertie the rhinoceros with the funny nose.
I'm telling you all this because you sometimes have a job understanding exactly what Armand and Michaela Dennis are saying. The difference between their films and the ones we see nowadays is that there seem to be more pictures of them than the animals they're looking for. What Armand says at the start is, "It is the search for Gertie which has brought us to Amboselli."
And it is the search for Gertie which has brought us to Amboselli.
You had better explain who Gertie is.
Oh, yes. Well, here's the story. Years ago, a man who used to be a missionary in East Africa showed me a photograph. For a rhino to possess a horn of this fantastic length and to have it point forward instead of upward is utterly abnormal and astonishing. Of course, I had no idea where this photograph had been taken or if this animal was still alive. Then one day, an old Tanganyika settler started talking to me about a rhinoceros he knew. A rhinoceros with an enormous, amazing, forward-pointing horn. He'd christened her Gertie. I showed him my photograph, and he instantly recognized her. This was Gertie. And he knew where she lived, in the old Amboselli Game Reserve, which is perhaps the only reason why she was still alive. At last, I think I see, yes, a gigantic forward-pointing horn. There's no possible doubt this is Gertie. We almost run down the hill in our excitement. But this is not a place where you can run without looking. This is Gertie, all right, at last. The legendary Gertie, with a calf, as I thought I saw from the top of the hill. Surely the most abnormal and freakish rhino horn ever seen. She sighs. She's aware of us. But she continues undisturbed.
We took a lot of pictures of Gertie. She performed for us beautifully. You might almost have thought that she knew she was being photographed and enjoyed it.
The immense popularity of those early Armand and Michaela Dennis programs and of the wildlife films we see now shows just how much we British love animals. We are absolutely soppy about them, let's face it. Only in this country could you hear a story like the one coming up now. It's part of a great documentary shot in Manchester in 1959 called Morning in the Streets, and it's about an ill budgie belonging to someone called Madge.
So Madge said to me she thought that the budgie was egg-bound. And I said, well, we'll have to do something about it because it'll die if we don't. I said, have you got a book on budgie? She said, no. So she sent the boy out to buy a book, and we did what we could for it. So she rang me up the next day, told me there was no eggs, rang me up the next day, no eggs. So I said to her, well, you better take it to the university and have it seen to there. So she said, oh, I can't do that. She said, it says in the budgie book, you've got to keep them in the one heat. If I take it out in the cold, it'll get pneumonia and die. So anyway, she got a vet in to have a look at it. And Shep, the dog, followed her in. And he goes to the cage to get the budgie out. Opens the cage, the budgie flies out. A light's on the mat. The dog jumps on it, and no budgie. He picks it up, the vet, looks at it. He said, this budgie's not egg-bound. He said, it's got a tumour. And with that, he just threw it in the fire. So Madge says, good heavens, she says, my lads will go mad. What did you do that for? He said, well, cremation is the most hygienic thing, madam. That will be 7 and 6.
And now for something completely similar. Michael Palin in Monty Python's Flying Circus. Do you know that was first shown 16 years ago? Doesn't time fly, except if you're a Norwegian blue parrot. Oh, Polly's all right, aren't you? Fine. It's all right. It's only a pretend one, so was that. Just occasionally, a film editor is allowed to have a bit of fun, just for the sake of it. The film you're about to see is what's described as a filler. Now, films like this are kept on the shelf at the BBC just in case everything breaks down and the engineers need a few minutes mending time. It's a combination of leftovers from the natural history cutting room floor and some bits of classical music. It's most disrespectful to both, but I think the result is utterly charming. Caw! Makes your arms ache just looking at those gibbons flying through the trees with the greatest of ease, isn't it? Well, filming wildlife is a surprisingly new thing on television. Only about 30 years ago, as we saw with George Cansdale, either they brought animals into the studio or the BBC bought ready-made films from outside suppliers and they were then introduced by someone sitting in a studio. In 1957, though, the BBC's Natural History Unit in Bristol sent a team on its first ever foreign wildlife film. It was shot in black and white using a camera like this. A wind-up camera, believe it or not. It's actually operated by clockwork. And it had 3 lenses on the front, which you could position in front of the film to get different sizes of shot, like that. That's all they had. No sound, just this and a few rolls of film. Now, this first faraway film was introduced by Peter Scott, and although it looked a bit like a home movie of a family holiday, it caused quite a stir. The BBC's first ever wildlife expedition was to the Galapagos Islands.
Well, the Galapagos are still very wild, very romantic, and in a way rather fierce. They were the goal of our Darwin Centenary expedition. Sounds rather pompous, but it really just consisted of my wife and I and Tony Soper, who was taking the pictures. And in amongst the opuntia trees, we were looking for the land iguana. There are only about 4 islands on which there are still land iguanas, and this was one of them, and here is one of the colony. They are yellow on the head and a rather richish chestnutty brown on the back, and they're rather wild. Well, we were very anxious to catch one and get a close look, and this was a good deal easier said than done because they were quite spry. We are here seeing if we can catch one amongst these thick thorn bushes, which had long thorns and jolly painful too, and we were chasing round, and eventually we drove it to a little hole, and it tried to get down the hole, and it wasn't a big enough hole, it didn't get far enough down, and I was able to pull him out backwards, and there he was. Well, as soon as you have them in the hand, they blow themselves up, inflate themselves to look as formidable and massive as possible, and in fact look rather ridiculous.
Well, how would you feel if you've been living a quiet life for generations, quietly going about doing your own business?
Humans treat you with a bit of respect these days. Another filmmaker was cutting his teeth in those far-off days of the 1950s, and either the voice or the turn of phrase or the shorts will tell you at once who it is.
It was one of the most extraordinary and fantastic animals in the world, the sloth. A sloth instinctively grips onto anything that comes within its reach.
Incredible. It sounds more like something out of a science fiction film. But have you noticed how the stars of natural history films are now more often the animals than the presenters? The technology's changed too. From that simple camera of the 1950s, now the film crew take all of this. The sound equipment, headphones, tripods, rolls of film, as we had before, microphones, lenses, but the heart of the thing is this camera. It has a zoom lens, and we can show you with a little trick of the studio camera the effect of a zoom lens. If I move the zoom lever like that, you don't have to switch between lenses, you've got one continuous flow of shot size. But let's not forget, however clever the equipment is, the quality of a film still comes down to the skill of the people making it. And there's something else comparatively new to us. It's the fact that some animals are just dying out. In a few years, they simply won't exist anymore. Now, one of the first filmmakers to bring that message to television was Gerald Durrell, and he doesn't hesitate in saying who he thinks is to blame.
Man, the fiercest of the predators, naturally does not like competitors. And so all the other predatory animals in the world have been treated as enemies, especially the cat family.
This is a serval cat, and we're very successful in breeding these, and we've sent their progeny, in fact, all over the world practically. Now, these cats, like all the spotted cats, like the leopards, jaguars, and so on, are all endangered for two reasons. First of all, they're predators, so naturally human beings want to get rid of them. Secondly, they're very valuable for their furs. And so all these spotted cats are becoming increasingly rare in the wild state, simply because they happen to inhabit a beautiful skin, which is taken off them and generally put on rather unlovely women, which is a great shame.
The serval is one beautiful creature which could become extinct. Another, again thanks to the greed of people, is the elephant. World About Us made a film about them in 1979. The care and patience and love that went into it are obvious in every single moment.
A few elephant bulls commandeer the waterhole. They are joined by a breeding herd of cows and younger animals. The babies wander in a moving forest of legs, but the adults are always aware and guide them gently. Unlike the placid bulls, the cows of a breeding herd with small babies are seldom relaxed at waterholes, and they leave as suddenly as they came.
The award-winning film Etosha, Place of Dry Water, shot by cameraman David Hughes in 1978. The power of television means that millions of people now know how vulnerable the natural world has become. The awful truth is, when those beautiful animals have all been destroyed by the ivory trade, the only place they will survive is in collections like the BBC Film Library. The closer animals get to looking like us, the funnier they seem. What about the proboscis monkey, for example? If you think some people have got funny hooters, you want to see the schnog on a proboscis monkey. To another proboscis monkey, or a proboscis monkey's mother, it's not funny at all. But it tickled Derek Griffiths' chuckle muscles enough to write about it for an award-winning children's programme called Heads and Tails.
But talk about noses. What about the one on this monkey? It's a real proboscis. Nose, nose, nose. Ooh, no, nobody's got a nose like me. Except me. How could such noses be? They call me proboscis. And me? Proboscis. Monkeys, we. Peek-a-who. Peek-a-me? Peek-a-boo. Oh, peek-a-you. Peek-a-proboscis. Monkey. Oh, I can't do this harmony. But confidentially, just between you and me. And me? This nose of mine. Oh, and mine? Is no real nose at all. It's just to make a noise with. That's all. A bit like a trumpet call. A honk, honk. What a hooter. What a beauty. Oh. Goodness me, I don't know what these young monkeys are coming to. Can't even say their own name. Proboscis, it should be proboscis.
Yeah, did you hear all that?
Yeah.
Proboscis, you reckon?
Mm-hmm.
What about it then?
Well, I guess.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Proboscis, monkeys, we.
Of course, there's one animal which looks even more like us, and that's the lovable chimpanzee. Back in the 1950s, children used to love going to the zoo to see the chimps having a tea party. Children loved it because the chimps got away with all the awful table manners they got told off for at home. And when an innocent BBC technician made the mistake of letting an orangutan get hold of his microphone, the inevitable happened. Mmm, delicious. Mmm, thank goodness they still make mics like these. Well, now I can reveal the identity of our mystery guest we saw just now with a very distinctive laugh. He's a childhood hero of mine, going all the way back to the days of Johnny's Jaunt, the Hot Chestnut Man, Animal Magic. You probably guessed. His name is Johnny Morris. Well, he very kindly invited me to tea to meet a couple of friends of his here at Twycross Zoo. I was delighted to meet Johnny, but I wasn't too sure about my fellow guests. Johnny, I have to admit, quite honestly, this is the closest I've ever been to chimpanzees, and I am very slightly nervous about being in their company. I don't know quite what to say to them or do with them.
Be not afraid. As long as you talk quietly and don't make any swift movements, then they are guaranteed at this age, I would say, to sit here quietly and enjoy their tea with you.
What are they called?
This one's called Jambo, and he's a rather special chimp because he's a brown one. And this is William. And their manners are not bad.
Johnny, obviously animals are second nature to you, but how did it all start? How did you get your job as Keeper Morris at the zoo?
Well, I was before then the Hot Chestnut Man. Right. And when the Nat Hist unit started, they thought that it would be nice to have a children's animal program. So they said, would you like to do something? And I said, yes, I'd like to be a keeper at the zoo, because then I can get into the zoo, I can get in with the animals, and the boys and girls would be able to relate animals to me and me to them.
It must be wonderful to be a keeper. Well, I might have to look after the camels, of course. Mind your back, sir. I'm just going to give the camel a banana. And we apply somewhere over here, I think. Bom, ba bom, bom. Bom, bom. Oh, good morning. I've come about the job.
Oh, yes. Now, are you fond of animals?
Oh, yes.
You're not afraid of lions? No. Nor tigers? No. What about snakes? Well, good. The job's yours.
Oh, thank you.
And so you got your job as Keeper Morris at the zoo. What was the first job you had to do?
Well, I rather believe it was washing the elephants. It was something like that I did.
Right.
And it was a bit hilarious at the time.
Now, stand still, and I'll give you a nice wash down. That's right. No, look, I've got to have the hose. No, Christine, look, you mustn't, no, look, let me have the hose. The boss said I've got to have the hose. The boss said I've got to have the hose. Christina, let it go. You're not supposed to have it. You're not supposed to have the hose. Look, you're eating it. That's right. There, that's right. There. You'll feel better after this wash. You want to gargle? All right, then.
Johnny, I suppose the thing people love you for most is not just be putting voices to animals, but making them say exactly the right thing at the right time. Now, how did all that come about?
Well, it's my father's fault. He was an anthropomorphist, you see. Yeah. He believed in putting human connotations onto animal behaviour. And, I mean, he would always tell me what our cat was thinking. Not only that, we had a talking parrot, you see. So if you've got a talking parrot and a father that puts voices on cats, I mean, you're doomed, aren't you, to be an anthropomorphist.
What's Jambo saying there?
Well, Jambo is saying to me, I don't know, I think I've had about enough of this here tea, you know. Can we get down?
No, you can't get down, Jambo. Sit and be a good boy.
It's quite obvious that, that not only do you love animals, but they love you as well. Now, that is taken to its extremes in a marvellous sequence. We've got a you with a gorilla.
That was really quite an extraordinary thing. We didn't know it was going to happen like that. I did know the gorilla before she had her baby, and I had been in with her, and we used to talk to one another and sit together. And we looked at this baby, and it was many, many years ago, and we were doing all things then for the first time, you see, because we were still shooting off the cuff and exploring what was happening. And we asked the curator of Bristol Zoo, Geoffrey Greed, whether we could go in with the gorilla. And he said, oh, I don't know. Well, I've been in with her, but I don't know. Anyway, he said, well, it's up to you. If you want to do it, try it. So we tried it. I'm sorry. I really am very sorry. It's raining very hard. So you really can't go out with your baby in that, can you? I mean, look at the clouds.
I know. I just wanted to take him out today.
Oh, dear. Well, perhaps
things can go wrong, can't they? I mean,
yes.
You were in a cage with some other gorillas once.
Yeah. Well, I was in a cage with I think it was 6 or 7 gorillas. And we wanted a shot that included the whole cage. And we asked one of the keepers who was there if he'd go outside. And he went outside the cage, and the senior gorilla there decided that she would assert her authority, and she thumped me. And it's quite a thump, you know, when you get thumped by a gorilla. I think she did a couple of ribs for me.
You look as if you're enjoying it, but you actually weren't, were you?
I knew that there was trouble about it.
And what about the camels? You remember the camels?
I've never been spat upon so effectively in all my life. Hello. These camels live at Marwell Zoological Park, and it's the early part of the year, and as you know, early in the year, things grow and things die. Well, their coat is sort of dying, they're molting. I'll pull a little bit of it off if you'll allow me. Would you allow me to pull a little bit of your coat off? No, well, look, you see, here it is. It comes off. Oh, it comes off in handfuls. Well, I think it'll come off in handfuls. We better cut there and start again.
Yeah, horrid. Well, Johnny Morris isn't the only broadcaster to be upstaged by animals. We found a whole selection of dropped bricks, those awful moments when you feel it shouldn't happen to a broadcaster. It's as if the animals are saying, so you're trying to make a film, are you? Well, we'll see about that.
Go on, let's have another. Come on. No, come on. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Right, carry on, all right. Here we go. Okay. How did the export side of it?
Surrounding the appointment of a dog catcher, and certainly on this estate, most owners seem to be keeping their pets under control.
I mentioned Gibraltar to anyone, and the first thing I think of is the ape. Oh,
Chimpanzees not dressed up as holiday photographers' playthings on the beaches, but once again...
Come on, I don't want to hang around in it too long. Now look, this is Pinky, the most pampered porker in Britain. He lives in absolute luxury, as you can see, but there's one very important thing missing from his life. find out what that is. Oh, get off! Oh, bloody... Thomas, I'm trying to say... Go! Go!
This is what the people who are wanting to stop the trade are hoping to see. Chimps, not dressed up as photographers' playthings.
Despite its idyllic and somewhat isolated situation, the trout farm does suffer that scourge of urban
Now, if you mention Gibraltar to anyone, the first thing they'll probably think of is the apes. No one knows exactly how they got here or exactly when they got here, but they've been here for hundreds of years, and they are a very important part of the tradition of Gibraltar. Story has it that when the apes go, the British go. And if you want to keep them here...
The East Centre is with the, where the rehabilitation centre.
Well, now it's the moment when we show a film made not by a television professional, but by someone who just happened to have a film camera and felt like taking some moving pictures. Paul-Émile Victor was an explorer. On one of his Antarctic expeditions in the 1950s, he took a break from his scientific work to take the first ever film of emperor penguins. He showed the film on Peter Scott's program, Look. They talked together as they watched how emperor penguins keep their eggs warm in spite of the permanent bitter cold of the Antarctic ice.
Now, very soon after it's laid, the female transfers the egg to the male. Then she can go off to sea and get food for the young. So the male is here taking over, or about to take over, the egg. Female is a little bit, to begin with, a little bit reluctant to let it go. She keeps showing where it is. There it is, you know, but she retreats a little, but he says, come on.
Look how the feet are
yes.
set there.
Hand over, he says, and he very carefully positions it between his feet, closes his feet together underneath it. It's raised off the ice, and into the pouch it goes. Now, the female, she's watched that, and of course she's free to go off to the sea now, free to go off for food, but she's not quite sure she's going. She's going to come back and make sure that he's got it all right. Just checking up, isn't it? Yes, it's still there.
Wonderful pictures of emperor penguins. Nobody'd seen anything quite like it on television before. The goodies were always dreaming up some brilliant new wheeze to keep themselves gainfully employed. They turned their attention to animals when they started an animal clinic in a program which won the 1972 Silver Rose at Montreux. The story is that after a few accidents with growth hormones and pet pills, they decide that what their customers need is exercise with hilarious consequences. One of the longest-running police series ever, Z-Cars. Now he's in a program which has turned out to be just as popular, the Zoo series One by One. A warm welcome to keeper Paddy Riley, real name James Ellis. James, it's very nice to have you with us on Windmill. Have you always been interested in animals?
Well, from childhood I've loved animals, but I've never made any kind of study of animals, other than just in passing, you know. Oh, hello.
You've made a
say
friend.
hello
That's
already.
Charlie from Play School.
I know Charlie. I'm a fan of yours, but I've never met you. How do you do?
It looks as if she's a fan of
There
yours
you are.
too.
That's nice.
Great.
No, well, there you are. Now, funny enough, this was one of the species of animal, our feathered friends, that I had a little bit of a phobia about due to a childhood experience where a little budgie flew into our house. And right until I had to do it on the program and pick up a bird, I never thought I could have picked up a feathered creature. I had a phobia about it because of the flapping of the wings and the general sort of feel of feathers.
Well, you'd never know it looking at you now with that bird.
And that
That's
was because of the
marvellous.
fright I had as a little 8-year-old boy, and it took one by one to get me over that phobia when I picked up a
Well,
golden pheasant.
we've got a very good example. Here's a clip from One by One in which you're dealing with a very much bigger bird than that. These are pelicans. They're very big birds indeed. You obviously have absolutely no fear at all with them. And I think even a lot of bird lovers would be scared of these ones.
Come on. You're my man here. Get you out of the way. That's the one I want there. No, just behave yourself. Come on.
Now.
Come on. Yeah, good. You off. Now, none of your nonsense. None of your nonsense. Come here.
Right on, Paddy.
Ah. There. Nice and steady.
Put him down here.
Now then. There. Grab yourself away there.
Yeah, these knees brassed off. Look what it's done on your trousers.
Oh, go on, you dirty skitter.
Come on, let's have a wink.
Huh?
Good morrow, my masters.
Hello, Max.
Morning, Miss Margaret.
What are you two doing?
They're just giving Herr Professor here the benefit of 1,000,000 years' experience in how to prevent pelicans skedaddling back to Africa every time a fancy takes them.
Well, you were obviously completely at home with them, but weren't you scared of those huge beaks?
Yes, they're pretty frightening looking, aren't they? In fact, when they're open like that, they look terrifying, but they're just like a couple of school rulers, just give you a bit of a nasty little rap on the knuckles, but nothing more than that.
How do you rehearse with animals?
Well, my preference is not to rehearse with them at all, just to set up the whole scene and then at the last minute, more or less, take your animal by surprise, just in sort of photograph what happens naturally, rather than expect the animal to repeat its actions, you know. I mean,
taking a few
see
chances,
if Charlie
aren't you?
would come. See that? If you do that, Charlie comes over. If we had told her to do that, she wouldn't have done it, would she, darling?
That proves the point beautifully. What are elephants really like?
They're one of my favourite creatures. They're absolutely. It was the first scene I had to do was to get into the elephant's living quarters at Dudley's, a great big, huge African elephant called Flossie. And when she let me in, it was my moment of triumph. I thought I've arrived, you know. I sort of walked up and tapped her on the trunk and said, I just pushed past her, and she backed off and let me in, and I felt at home after that. And I've always had a rapport and a special fondness for elephants ever since.
Well, it's abundantly clear from the clip we're going to look at now, where you are obviously very close quarters with this elephant, not the slightest bit scared. In fact, there's obviously quite an affection between you, isn't there?
Hey, you're Donna, my love. Some lovely hay tea for you here. Come on, get that down, you girl. What's that? Oh, you want sugar with your tea, do you? All right. There you are.
You've got a course here now, Paddy. Maybe it's time to look ahead.
What? To the scrap heap, you mean, eh?
No, another job, another challenge. Doing something you do best.
I love this place, I'm telling you. Seeing it fall apart like this that I can't stomach. But there's still a job of work to be done here. At least till I get my stock safely settled.
I think that's quite touching. You really were very close to that.
Very, very fond of elephants. There were several elephants up there. I just loved the elephants. They seem to be easy to sort of persuade to do things. They seem to have a natural affinity. I mean, for example, the lifting of the trunk, which there's a whole performance done about that, about salute and all the rest of it. But it's also terribly useful because if the trunk goes up, you can actually get a very good shot of somebody's head inside, and it looks very intimate. But they're such cooperative animals, I think, especially when you build
There was
up a
one
relationship.
animal you were acting with which would have frightened most people silly. It was an elephant seal, absolutely colossal thing. Weren't you scared stiff of that?
No, he was such a wonderful-looking big chap. I was amazed by his size, you know. And had my leg pulled about it so much I was fairly prepared for this. I think I'm in love here, actually. But he was huge, but such a gentle thing. And, you know, even looking at him now, seeing those fearsome jaws close around a fish, mate, makes you sort of think.
Not as fierce as he looks, though.
His sheer size, he's not fierce at all. He's what the French call an éléphant de mer. He's a sea elephant.
Hello. Maiden tame, is it, eh?
Yes, that's right. Would you like to give him a few fish, get to know him?
I certainly would. All right, with strangers, is he?
Big Rain? Oh, yes. He's a friendly old soul. Aren't you, boy? Quite harmless.
Oh, right you are, then.
Nice, then.
Oh, what a funny boy, eh? Hey, the maid have a go here, John, eh? He's harmless enough, right enough, eh? And a lovely fella, here. There you go.
Give Red the bucket, Paddy. Let him hold it.
Oh, good boy, eh? Oh, let's have a bit of raw fish there, that's it, eh? Yeah. Hey! Get up, Hawkby! Oh, he's got hold of it! Oh, let's go! Bloody hell!
You certainly made a big hit now, Paddy.
I buried for it, eh?
Isn't that great?
Oh, I can taste that seawater to this very day.
Oh,
Or not
really?
seawater, fishy water. It wasn't fresh seawater at all.
That's too bad. Weren't you scared he was going to jump in after you?
No, I was more scared of his wives who were in the water at the far end of the pool, and I was told to get out fairly pronto because they might be a little bit jealous or a little bit possessive and wonder who was interfering with their fella.
James, you've obviously got a way with animals that leaves Rex Harrison standing. I think you've got a friend for life there with Charlie.
Oh, you're lovely. I think I want you to
Isn't
take
she
you home with
smashing?
me. Will you come home with me? Hello. Hello.
Are we going to see some more one-by-one programs?
Well, if public demand or the sort of general sort of number of people who've come to me in the street and said that programme it has not been taken off is anything to go by, I would expect that somebody might be bringing it back. Little rumours have occurred from time to time. If public demand has anything to do with it, I think sort of people in this country love animals so much, even apart from the scripts and the actors in it and what have you, I think that people love to see the animals.
Well, I'm certainly with them. Let's hope we see the return of one by one as soon as possible. James Ellis, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Who's a pretty boy then? Pretty girl, Charlie. Yes.
And it's time for us to go back into our cages till next week. We leave you with one of those horribly memorable bloomers from Blue Peter. Not the elephant, but the St. Bernards. One of the hazards of live broadcasting with animals is that once they've got an upper hand, there's nothing you can do about it. And there's some mysterious force built into every Blue Peter presenter which says, I must keep talking whatever happens, even if a huge dog is dragging me across the floor, must keep going and must keep cheerful.
Why it's so difficult? I've got 3, you've only got 1.
I know, but I've got the strongest.
Now, Mrs. Lux, actually, as you can see, has lots of St. Bernards.
Oi, she has... Stop that. Come away. Give over. Ouch! Mrs. Lux has lots of St. Bernards at her house, and she's brought... Sarah and Peter brought 4 of them in.
We've got Emma here, the bitch, and she's 2 years old. I say, she's 2 years and 4 months old, and then she's got 3 puppies, because these are puppies, believe it or not. How old are these, Pete? The puppies.
I'm not sure, but it's time to go, folks. We'll let you know how this goes.
It's nearly bye from us, but we can't leave without seeing some more of some of the most beautiful animal photography I've ever seen. From the film we looked at earlier, Etosha, Place of Dry Water. Till the same time next week, goodbye.
So, on behalf of Bibi and myself, I'll say goodbye for now.
At 2 o'clock, Nigel Starmer-Smith will be here with Rugby Special. Now, Dr. Jonathan